People, Deluded, I'm back again. Merry Christmas and seasonal greetings to you, whether you necessarily celebrate Christmas or not. If you don't, or if you do, I just hope you surround yourself with good family, good friends, good people, good vibes, and cherish the moments, really and truly. I know it sounds cliche, people, but personally, over 2019, certain people that I started the year with, as in 2019, are not here anymore, sadly, through passing away. And these things are only going to get worse as I get older, and I'm sure you lot have been through it. And again, it sounds cliche, but you never know when it's your last moment with someone. You never know when it's your last. So just, yeah, man, just spend it nicely and really, enjoy each other's company, because sooner or later that's all that will be there. It's just memories. But on a more positive note, it don't matter if it's Christmas, New Year's, sun, rain. There's only three things promised in life: death, taxes, and deluded vids. Videos still have to make. You see what I'm saying? But let's crack on, people. There's been a lot of interesting news, really and truly, I've come across on social media. When I say interesting, it's something of nothing, but as in decent talking points for us to speak about. So like I said, Merry Christmas and them things. I know Arsenal players don't watch me or anyone connected to the club, but Merry Christmas to the club. I support and everybody involved in that. It's irrelevant as well, but Merry Christmas to anybody that works for the NHS, because obviously it's only times like this that I don't think people really, I wouldn't say that they really comprehend the NHS, because you're seeing with cuts and possible tax hikes people are claiming for, to try and aid the MLS, aid the NHS with its, it's dying essentially. So I have nothing but, and that's nothing to do with the employees, especially the doctors and nurses and porters and all these people at grassroots level, or base level, frontline level. And obviously the festive period, New Year's, Christmas Eve, all these people are sacrificing these things. So man, really big up yourselves, and I appreciate it, and hopefully the NHS gets investment. But enough of speaking about relevant but irrelevant things. Let's crack on. The first one is something I've actually come across, people. Apparently, Spanish attacking midfielder Dani Olmo wants to leave Dynamo Zagreb. You've seen him linked with Barcelona. You've actually seen him linked with Manchester City. I would go as far to say he has an outside chance of making the Euros, purely because I haven't seen him called up by Spain's full international side. I could be wrong, but I've seen him play for the under-21s. And you lot know me, I've made a few vids about him. I think he's someone Arsenal need. Now, there's other areas to introduce into the side and improve, central mid and centre-half specifically. But I do believe if Dani Olmo is available for a presentable offer, then we should look to bring him in. For many reasons. He's young, there'll be the resale value there. I think his best position is probably as a free role in midfield, but he can play on and excel on the flanks equally. He can actually play as a false nine. Obviously, jack of all trades, master of none is something that could have, but he's got adaptability. He's young. I don't imagine he would cost the most. I'd say anything from 20 to 40 million in today's day and age, because I think he's got just over a year left on his deal. That could be right up our street. Now, he's been linked with Barcelona, a team that he left to make the brave step as a young Spanish don to go to Croatia and develop himself. He's been linked with City, like I've said, and a couple other more reputable clubs have probably been paying attention to him in the last few years. And while he hasn't set the Champions League alight, he's had some good moments in that. But if the opportunity presents itself, I would like to go for him personally, people. Moving on from that, apparently Martinelli has been called up to the Brazil under-23 side for next month's games, which is in relation to qualifying for the Olympic football tournament. I guess that comes down to will Arsenal let him depart for that competition. I wouldn't. It's national pride, and I would be livid if I was Martinelli and Arsenal said you couldn't. But listen, it's not like you're playing under 23s or you're waiting on the occasional Carling Cup. Martinelli is fully a first team player, and when you look at Leno, when you look at Aubameyang, you look at Martinelli, apart from them three, there's not too many men that you can say are putting any pride in the shirt. Shout out to young Saka as well, Chambers to a degree. But you get the point, innit? Them three there in Leno, Aubameyang and Martinelli, all Arsenal fans, if you were to say if there's been any real good performers, you're really saying them three. So I believe Martinelli should stay. Also, it's his first year in England as well, so I don't think he should be disrupting that. Obviously, I'm harping on, but I think you should sit out the campaign, try and play and assert yourself in this team. So hopefully he doesn't go, but if he does, it is what it is. Moving on, apparently Ian Megaria said. I'm not too sure. I've heard that name before, but I'm not too sure on what he actually does, if he's a former player, if he's a pundit or whatever. But he said, although I can't confirm, I've heard that Arsenal have also made contact with Napoli through a third party regarding Koulibaly, and also Napoli got some interest in Kolasinac. So again, let's not get gassed off that, because that could just be literally picking up a phone saying, listen, how feasible is it to get Koulibaly in January? No, he's going to cost 90 million. Phone down. Or how much do you think he would go for? So we don't need to get gassed off the fact that we're interested allegedly and think that Raul Sanya and them man there are in Naples sipping wine and trying to convince. We don't know if it's got that far. And obviously, interest and actually following through is two different things. Because if Koulibaly became available, you lot have seen City, Juventus, all the big boy Barca, all the teams will be queuing up for him and have been linked with the 28-year-old. And obviously, I don't know the truth in this, because, like it's just said, our player on Kolasinac has been linked with Napoli and Roma and and French and Italian clubs. So that might just be someone inventing their own story and trying to get new clicks and saying, why don't we make lies about a swap deal? Now, Napoli this season domestically have been a bit of a shambles. You've seen presidents trying to find players, a mini player revolt, disgruntled fans, managers leaving. It's been a bit of a joke, and you do think Mertens, Koulibaly, a couple might leave in terms of a rebuild or restructuring. We also know they want Torreira as well, so if this was legit, surely that name would be thrown in. But I don't know. Of course, I would love Koulibaly. 28, can play with a ball, can defend. I mean, if Arteta, which I believe he can change our outlook on how we defend and improve the system and structure and just approach to defending, and we can get better personnel in, then I'm all for that, people. Koulibaly ticks all the boxes. You've seen him, you've seen Upamecano. I'd love one of them. I do think Upamecano is still a bit raw and he's not at the same level as Koulibaly, but that's no criticism of his. I would like that and welcome that. Staying with centre-halves, I believe people have come out and kind of quashed the rumours that of any chance of Saliba returning to the club on loan, from his loan spell, in January. So that one's all was, allegedly. Apparently, people, going on to midfielders now, apparently Carlo Ancelotti wants Josh Maja from Bordeaux, which is irrelevant to us in this conversation, although allegedly Arsenal have been looking at him. But they also want Steven Nzonzi. Now, Steven Nzonzi's been a bit sometimes since Arsenal was really linked with him when he was at Seville. But surely, if he's been linked with Everton, could it be worth at least from Jan until May, because allegedly Arteta wants a number 6? Could it be worth looking at Nzonzi at least on a season-long loan, because arguably his value is probably at the floor at the moment, to be fair. It's a bit irrelevant, but I'd like us, if we could, again, it wouldn't be my priority and he's not playing well, but Thomas Lemar, purely because his price is probably at the floor. Do you get it, people? So it could be worth trying to get one on loan, even though I don't feel Lamar's irrelevant. I just feel Lemar would do well in that creative midfield role, and his adaptability could be good in the side. But I'd obviously like us to go for midfielders, a centre mid specifically, and a centre half. You've seen us linked with Thomas Partey, which I would love to see happen. But whether it will happen or not is a different thing. Apparently, Arteta has said he wants a number 6, which we have to assume defensive midfielder, and he wants 2 centre halves. Can that be done in January without moving players on? I don't know, because you look at our centre halves, there's a lot on the books. Chambers was probably one in the summer, and might even still be one of them which you can say is available for the right price. But on current form, he should be the last defender to be considered sold. I don't think Holding is the finished article, and I do think some fans overrate him, but I do like Holding and believe he can be a competent player and develop into one for us. David Luiz shouldn't be here. The very fact that he's on one something a week at 30 odd years of age, him and his agent have done perfect. They've left Chelsea, staying in London, similar circumstances, comfortable. For us, it's a mess. Socrates, you probably need to move him on. Maybe not necessarily, even though I don't believe in him, Mustafi or David Luiz, would it really make sense letting two leave in January? Not really. Mustafi probably the most likely to leave, people. You've seen Mustafi linked with Bologna, who want to buy him on loan with an option to buy. And that might entice Mustafi. I mean, it might not be the most competitive sides, but he's lived in Italy. I'm pretty sure he enjoyed the Italian way of life. And he just needs to get back to playing football. Maybe he concedes that he believes he has a chance under Arteta because it's a new manager, but maybe it's time to keep it moving, really and truly. Staying on with Arteta though, apparently Arsenal's coaching staff has been announced. Albert Stuffenberg, who I believe was previously working with the Welsh side, I could be wrong, and will actually work with Arsenal, but will do his duties at 2020 at the 2020 Euros. Freddie Ljungberg's obviously been retained. You've got former Everton and United coach Steve Round, who's going to give some experience as well. And you've got Ilkay Kanapavon, which you've seen some clips emerging on social media and YouTube of his training sessions. He's described as an obsessed goalkeeping coach who's always trying to push his players in a positive way to the limit. So that should be enticing for not just Leno, but the young keepers on the books as well. And obviously anyone that's got energy and is enthusiastic, it don't mean you're going to make things happen, but that's what you want to see, people, really and truly. So congratulations to all four, and hopefully you four, together with Arteta and anybody else who comes in, can get these boys playing like an Arsenal team, or just playing like a Premier League side, to be fair with you and brutally honest, people. Apparently Arsenal want to sign Rabiot on loan. Now obviously he went on a free transfer to Juventus, and you look at Juventus's midfield, there's too many midfielders. There's Ramsey, there's Pjanic, there's Khedira, there's Emre Can, there's Rabiot, there's Dybala who can play in the 10. There's too many. There's Matuidi. There's too many man in it. It's great for Juventus to have that side, and it's envious to have that depth. But not everyone's going to play. Now Rabiot might have been seen as a coup, for example, free transfer, but it hasn't worked out for him. Apparently Arsenal want him on loan. Now it could be confusing having Guendouzi, Luiz, and Rabiot in the same side, but I would welcome it. Do I necessarily? Well, he does improve us because our midfield is poor. Like, he would give us something, but is he? I do think we need someone that likes to connect the play going forward, but I also want what Arteta wants in a 6, someone that's combative, tenacious, can break play up, and can obviously distribute a ball. Like someone like, I would love someone like a Fernandinho, or it's completely different, but a Vidal. Why I say Vidal is because he might not be playing well now, but you describe him as a box-to-box midfielder. He's not necessarily defensive, but he understands I've got to get back and defend. As much as I want a defensive midfielder, I don't necessarily think we need one like that, as long as we've got a midfielder who is just switched on and recognises I've got to follow runners, I've got to track back, and all of these sort of things. I will take Rabiot on loan purely because our midfield is poor, but I don't see how he would help us. And what I mean by that is Rabiot's a good player, technically amazing. He'd be coming to Arsenal with the French ties and all of these sort of things, and he'd obviously, if he came on loan, he'd want to prove Juventus wrong for loaning him out, and really hasn't really been able to show what he's done in the last few years. So there's all the reasons for it to happen. But when I look beyond that and I look at our midfield, yeah, he's good with a ball, he's gracious, he can carry it, there's these plus points, but he's not going to bring goals, he's not going to bring assists, he's not going to dominate the midfield and control the tempo, in my humble opinion. So I can't really see what he's going to give us. So that's what I mean. So I'll take him, but beyond my admiration for him and how good he is as a player, and I look at the competencies, how much really can he improve us, and does it make sense? Again, we haven't had the best of times with loan spells. Now, hopefully, under a fellow Spaniard in Arteta, Ceballos can start showing us what he can do in it, and staying fit and whatnot, and showing Real Madrid what they missed out on. But there's our loan spells haven't really banged. You look at what we spent for a club that claims we need to save money, £5 million down the drain for Denis Suarez. Now that might not seem like much, granted it isn't when we're spending 70 odd on Pepe and there's just money in the game. But when you think about it, that's quite an expensive loan spell, £5 million. Denis Suarez, in hindsight, was never really fit. No one can really say he had any good games. I know he came off the bench when we beat United and did some skills past Paul Pogba, in which I was making sure my friends never forgot that. But it was a terrible loan signing. Will it, with our track record, would Rabiot necessarily be a success? And also, you'd have to consider the variables in that he's leaving one team to come to another mid-season. He could very much hit the ground running, but he's gone from a way of life in Italy, allegedly, to obviously London now, and a new team and way of playing and Premier League culture shock. You'd have to allow him to adapt, people. So would it really make sense? It's completely irrelevant, but apparently City have started identifying potential defensive reinforcements, with sources not completely ruling out a January signing if one of their targets become available. City are watching situations of Paul Torres, who plays for Villarreal, who I've done a video on before, who's 22, and Ruben Dias, who's also 22, of Benfica. I would like both of them. Both of them have been linked with our club, or more so Paul Torres, and maybe Arteta's here. the rumours might intensify, and we might get some more La Liga talents, because we got linked with more La Liga talents when we've got Emre. Obvious reasons. But I would like to actually see us get some, really, because I do think there's players there. So obviously the only relevance is that. But I've also seen apparently City are open to loaning out their right back Cancelo and whatnot. You've seen Valencia linked with them. It hasn't worked out for him. Now, there might be bad blood because of, you keep hearing City saying they're not extremely happy with how we dealt with the Arteta situation. But maybe, again, this won't happen. We're not City's rivals. We are definitely not City's rivals. But maybe Arteta can make a phone call and say, can we take Cancelo? Because Maitland, apologies. Maitland now's done alright against Everton. That's not him. We haven't got another right back, at least until January. If we can identify one in the meantime to move for one in the summer, we'd have 2 right backs competing for a spot. Or at least right now, Bellerin doesn't seem to be fit, so we'd have a right back that's made for this. And obviously Cancelo would still have the prospect of Premier League football, I guess, on top of playing for Pep, the reason as to why he moved. I think he's actually just had a young daughter as well, I saw on Twitter. So would he really want to already move into Manchester? Would he want to move again back down, down to London, down south? I think technically my geography's poor. I don't know. That's just me, doing a bit of that stuff, people. But again, you know me, I don't talk about wages and harp on about this because it's all irrelevant, really. I don't like to talk about wages. There's no sense to this. But this kind of sums up how mismanaged we are, people, because you've got Ozil, 350k. Now, Ozil's on it, and people will say, myself included, hindsight, you should have let him walk. But we have to be fair to the club. They were damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they let Alexis and Ozil go at the time, many people that are berating that, let's be honest, we'd be saying, what is the club doing? They've got no ambition, blah, blah, blah. In an ideal world, which I was screaming, which was clearly financially impossible, both stayed. Do you get it? So if both stayed, and Alexis is the Alexis of United now, because in hindsight, he was declining at Arsenal. People were saying he's down in tools and that. Was it just the natural decline of someone that's been playing a ridiculous amount of football? Who knows? But if we were stuck with that Alexis Sanchez that United had, and obviously Ozil now, people would say, oh, this and that, they fleeced us, blah, blah, blah. Do you get it? Or even if we kept just Alexis. So I don't think there's pleasing anyone. At the time, the club needed to give him that, innit? Maybe not so much, and they did butcher it, and Ozil did his thing, but it mismanaged. Aubameyang deserves his 200k. Lacazette's on 182, Pepe's on 140. There's nothing wrong really necessarily with the context I've said with Ozil and them 3 names. David Luiz is on 125. He probably took a pay cut to come here from Chelsea, but it doesn't make sense. You've made him one of the highest earners in the club, someone that, again, probably you would name him in your... I wouldn't, but he'd probably make a lot of best 11s in Arsenal's team with these current options, with the 11 we have. Not that I rate any of them, specifically the centre halves, but you could make a case for a pairing, but he doesn't necessarily walk into the team. He's not necessarily a glaring option. For him, it's a great move because, like I said earlier, like winding down in his career, he's got to move to another London club where he doesn't need to move too far, and he's got competitive wages. For us, this makes these players harder to move on. I believe Luiz is contracted until 2021, but who sanctioned that? Bellerin's on 110, Kolasinac is on 100k, and Kolasinac was a free transfer, which is why he was able to command that. But with Tierney coming in, that's not necessarily because of the wages. Doesn't make sense being Arsenal, giving 100k to our second choice left back or someone that's not consistent. That might be someone we move on together with Ozil, with Mustafi, because we've got Kolasinac, Ozil, Mustafi, Socrates, Luiz, if I could, all in one transfer window in the summer. You move all of these people on, if I haven't said Ozil as well, or one of Lacazette and Aubameyang both. This frees up a lot of resources. I'm not saying open up bare holes in the team, because Arsenal need to stitch back the holes we've got in our shirt already before do you get it? We need to really address the areas in our squad before creating others. Do you get what I'm saying, people? But that's someone we might look at. Xhaka's on a ledge. This is all from the Mirror. The Mirror's Jake Polden is saying this. Xhaka's on 100k a week as well. He signed a new deal recently, and he is our captain, so that's to be expected. But again, Xhaka, you're naming, on one hand, he probably is in our first choice 11 because of what he gives the team to a degree. But on the other hand, in my hand, if I'm naming Arsenal's 11, best 11, does Xhaka normally make it into my 3-man midfield? No. Is he a glaring option in the same way Leno and Aubameyang, for me, deserve their money? Because, and it's not, I don't mean they deserve their money or not, but you can see why they're on them wages. Leno is the glaring first choice option. Aubameyang the glaring star of the team. To get it. Xhaka, Kolasinac, man, don't see that. Ozil, I don't really see that. Socrates is on 92. It's not the biggest. Mustafi the same. This can all be freed. If I was Torreira, I'll be moving mad, boy. Because there's like, from I'm seeing Kolasinac, Luiz, all them men, they're earning more than me. I'll be going mad. Apparently, Sabas is on 51 a week. Not too sure who deals with the wages of him. Personally, people. But yeah. Apparently, Reece Nelson and Emil Smith-Rowe wanted on loan by Bundesliga clubs, and I've said this before, there is a case for both of them to stay at the club, there is a case for both of them to leave the club. I'd say there's more case for Emil Smith-Rowe to go out on loan, because I believe in him, he's got a lot of talent, but injuries have robbed him of really making progress. I don't want to talk about ifs and buts because they're not facts, but if he didn't get injured, didn't have these injuries last season, how much games could he have played for Leipzig? Do you get it? If he never had the injuries this season, he could have potentially went out on loan again or could have got more first team at Arsenal. But he's really had a rotten luck with injuries. I like him, but he is very raw. He plays like someone that is inexperienced. The occasional Europa League game, cup game, where really there's a golfing class, ain't going to improve him. Minutes are currency. We need to give him game time. There's a case to stay and play, and I'd support him because I think although he had a mixed first half and a better second half against Everton,